podcast. Thank you so much for checking us out and downloading, and most importantly, spreading the good word about Critical Hit. Now's the perfect time to be spreading the good word about Critical Hit as we get back into the Void Saga. And wow, last week
on Critical Hit,
a lot of deep stuff being dropped all on our heads. So why don't we get back into that action, Rodrigo, and let's pick up back on the boat.
Yeah. So what did happen last week on Critical Hit?
On Critical Hit.
On Critical Hit.
Well,
Bahamut died.
Yeah, on Critical Hit, Bahamut died.
Yes. That was a thing.
We've been tasked with figuring out how to either create a new treaty or keep the Treaty of Worms together so time doesn't unravel and blink us all out of existence.
Yep, we discovered that whatever...
And Worm decided he wanted to kill people with a god-killing starfish.
I didn't want to kill people.
He wanted to experiment with how to kill people, which is different.
Exactly.
And whatever it is that Ket did with the Raven Queen, turning her into the Obsidian Huntress, broke time. So way to go, Ket.
Well,
not forget, my fault. That was her decision.
Don't forget he also works for someone who's currently trying to attack the holy city of Bahamut.
Not mentioning any names, called Asmodan.
Not trying to attack. He is attacking.
Yes. What are you going to do about that, Ket?
It's not like any other gods using it.
Too soon, Brian. Too soon.
So the hundreds and hundreds of gods who are sleeping, like Cord and Rao and Huronmir and Cthulhu and Ted, all those guys could be waking up if they're hardy enough. So it's probably going to be Ed Hardy or Frank and Joe Hardy, which is scary enough.
Well, there's certainly a mystery that we have to solve, so we might as well get to it.
And once again, we've been broken up into Team Nerd and Team Non-Nerd, in that some of us know how to read the Treaty of Worms, and some of us know how to polish whatever that thing is off the hilt of our swords.
Worm gets mad and flips the car over. Storms out of the room again.
Okay, take a step back. Roll for initiative.
All right.
On Critical Hit.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll pick up with what apparently is being dubbed Team Nerd, even though they are like the cool kids.
Yeah.
Cool kid.
Diplomacy is a charisma skill, man.
Yeah. So yes.
Team Extrovert.
Like I said, the Treaty of Worms is a complex and circuitous document, and is has a lot going on, a lot of provisions and a lot of stuff like dog-eared into it. Is that the right word? I don't know. So what exactly are you guys looking for?
I guess information about who qualifies, any information about like the dissolution of it and people's obligations to renegotiate it, should parties no longer be able to meet their obligations.
Yeah, that is important, and that is something that you guys find relatively fast. Is there is a grace period. If any of the conditions of the treaty should become void, there's a certain amount of time before it will become null and void. And that appears to be about a week. That said, the treaty itself doesn't immediately become completely unusable. Essentially, it slowly falls apart over time. When the treaty gives out, there's a certain amount of time during which where the ceasefire continues. There's a certain amount of time during which gods who are party to X, Y, or Z are still allowed to basically reap the benefits of the treaty. There is a certain period of time during which the slumbering gods can wake up So, for example, there won't be a thing where like they're just like constantly waking, like new ones are constantly waking up forever. They essentially have a set amount of time before they stop. And it's pretty short. It's essentially less than 2 weeks.
So there's 1 week in which nothing will happen. And then after that, there's 2 weeks in which sleeping gods have a chance to wake up.
Not necessarily. Those two can actually overlap. It's just the ceasefire doesn't end for a little bit over a week, or rather, there's a grace period to renegotiate it. So yes, they have up to a week during which, yes, they have up to a week during which nothing might not, or where nothing might happen. But they could also just have their stuff together and show up ready to go. And that's the thing, is like once that negotiation happens, everything will click, or the real timer clicks on. Like if they, on the first day of the dissolution of the treaty, which is today technically, they had all gotten together and been like, let's figure this out. Then the moment that they go, well, we can't figure it out, then all clocks are set to 0 and start counting.
Got it. So it's that point that the gods can start waking up and time can start falling apart.
Yep.
Got it. And is Asmodeus in violation of the treaty by attacking the fortress?
No, because the main conditions of the ceasefire is that they are not allowed to directly attack each other, or like gods are not directly allowed to attack each other, and their immediate divine host are not allowed to attack either other gods or the immediate divine host of other gods. From what you can gather here, and from what probably Ked is able to tell you, since this thing was written, gods have been acting through intermediaries anyway. So assuming that there were no, devils or, I don't know, Gelugons or whatever on those ships.
Yeah, those are the worst.
Asmodeus could attack Dragistan all he wants, and in fact may have another layer of bureaucratic protection if those are, basically privateers or mercenaries anyway. And there are potentially magical celestial critters that you could potentially hire to go do that. So there might actually be some, scary space monsters on those ships. They just can't be directly affiliated with any of the gods.
About time unraveling.
Mm-hmm.
What in the treaty, or what information is there on that in the treaty?
So from what you can gather, the way that things used to be is that every creature every entity basically had their own time, and time kind of tends to stick together when things are together and might speed up or slow down when things are apart. So, for example, if Ket and Little Sparkle are in the same room, their times will sync up. But if Little Sparkle walks out of the room and then walks back in, 5 minutes may have passed for her and 100 years for Ket. That's basically what it's talking about. And that would happen with literally everyone and everything.
That's terrible. Is there a timeline for when that might start happening?
Yeah, it seems to be pretty slow. From what you can tell bureaucratically, it will start to happen very slowly. And it's entirely possible that even once it officially starts, time itself is going to physically, if you can think of it physically, going to retain its structure and just start to break down. So that is not the most immediate concern, but it's an eventuality of no treaty being struck.
Sure, it's like taking ice cream out of the freezer.
Yep, exactly. It doesn't immediately turn it into water, but it will.
Okay. So the treaty affects the flow of time for all living creatures, essentially?
Yep, and probably some non-living ones.
And the rest of physicality just has time flowing steadily?
Nope, depending on who's around and what's around and what other things are impacting each other. It is just a huge mess.
Great. Is there any information on how this would be expected to affect other planes?
Nope.
Terribly.
I mean, it seems to imply that it would definitely affect the natural world directly. Like,
sure,
everything that we're talking about, that's what would happen in the natural world. And more than likely the astral sea as well. Although, weirdly, from what you guys can gather, it seems that gods kind of create a bubble around themselves. So it's likely that everybody who lived in a city with a powerful enough god would kind of sync onto that god's timeline.
Time stream.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and are there any terms for, I guess, once this treaty is abandoned and everything's set to 0, are there any terms for renegotiating with new parties that are laid out?
Yeah. Essentially, or no, there actually aren't. A new negotiation would have to constitute a brand new treaty.
Okay.
There is room for new parties to be brought into this negotiation, but they would have to be brought in by any extant parties of this negotiation.
So basically, they'd need a current signatory to be effectively a sponsor of them?
Pretty much.
Okay.
And then they would have to meet basically the power criteria to.
Sure.
I mean, essentially, from what I'm bureaucratically speaking, a god could just be like, "Hey, Frank, go over here and sign this," and Frank could sign it, but his signature wouldn't matter. It would have to be somebody who's powerful enough.
But say, like, Osiris is, a powerful sleeping god, and we convince Vecna to let him at the table. He could become a new signatory?
Could, yep.
Okay. Cool.
All right. I assume there's information on at least some of the sleeping gods in here? Or just that they will wake up within X days or not?
Yep, that's about it, unfortunately. Only those that were actually signing are on the treaty. Everybody else is assumed to have surrendered or died, or basically just been like, "Hey, can I just go sleep over here?" And everybody was like, "Yeah, cool."
So as non-signatories, are there any other stipulations on these gods besides the fact that they're sleeping? Like, once they're awake, are they free to attack whatever other gods they want?
Yeah, once they're awake, it means that the treaty is essentially nullified. So only those that were bound originally might still be unable to attack each other. All of these guys would be up and at 'em.
But it's also possible that because the treaty is nullified, that, say, any of the signatories could start directly attacking each other.
And also the, as it were, unprotected gods as well.
Cool. Oh, wow. What a nightmare.
The Obsidian Huntress versus the Raven Queen. What can we glean from the document about that situation?
All you can gauge is sort of by what has happened. Once it's like the things can continue to operate if one of the signatories is not around, as it were. But once 2 are gone, then the negotiation window kicks into gear, and the treaty eventually breaks apart. So what you can glean retroactively from that is that she's probably counts enough as a different party, and has ever since that happened. But while Bahamut was still around, the treaty still held up.
Are void gods valid signatories of this thing?
It does not specify.
Just entity with enough power.
Yeah, is that something that could potentially, include, say, Elder Fae or, archdemons?
It's possible, but a lot of the wording seems to pertain specifically to gods. Like once you get into the nitty-gritty of it, it really gets into portfolios.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be one of the measures of whether something is powerful enough. When you look at the current gods that are awake, there's like, oh, this guy's all about justice and this guy's all about tyranny, but actually all of them have very wide portfolios. It's like Melora is like the hunt and the sea and the wilds and hermits and things like that. So if you brought an Elder Fae, they, more than likely don't have anything like a portfolio.
Sure. Is there a specified time date for renegotiation or a protocol for starting renegotiation back up?
After what?
After the treaty becomes broken by the death of 2 participants?
Yes. There is that sort of week-ish window for negotiations to start.
Sure. I guess, is there like is there like a written protocol for who's supposed to begin negotiations, or like where negotiations are valid to take place, or who needs to be present for them?
No, but there is the document sort of institutes a like fair, like good faith amount of time, whereas like if somebody says, hey, let's do it here and now or at this particular time, and it's within the window and nobody can really show any reason why that couldn't happen, then it kind of has to happen then.
Mm-hmm.
So if everybody's informed of a time for negotiation and none of them can provide a excuse as to why they can't show up, they have to?
Pretty much.
All right.
And in fact, what they could do is push it to be sooner, but not later. So if somebody is like, let's do it at the very end of the week, all in favor, aye, all opposed, nay, okay, too bad, we're doing it at the end of the week. Somebody can be like, hey, let's do it tomorrow. And if everybody can make it tomorrow, then it's tomorrow.
Got it.
With Bahamut's prediction, though, it's in our best interest to push it as far away as possible. Because this negotiation is going to fail.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you guys do.
Yeah, I don't think we have any.
Yeah, you do not seem to have a say in that.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be showing up when it happens.
Yeah.
All right, that's all the questions I have right now, I think.
Okay. Yeah, you can always ask more questions about it or refer back to it.
I will likely wind up doing that at some point.
Okay. What does everyone else do?
Well, I think Orm and Randus are going to be checking out little spongy starfish.
I believe Sakar will be watching them in the hopes that they don't break the universe.
I'm not going to break the universe.
They're not.
But you guys were going to wait till you had a research assistant and a non-boat place to do this.
We can do some initial surveys and studies. In fact, I think I would like to see just kind of what magics and powers this thing has, and see if we can detect how energy is flowing through the thing.
Maybe test its regenerative capabilities.
I'm not going to cut into it just yet.
Okay. Why don't you both give me an Arcana check?
34.
Okay. 36.
Okay. For both of you, the most immediately obvious thing about it is that it doesn't have an obvious signature. Like, as far as you can tell, when you put on your goggles and hold up your crystals and sprinkle your magical dust on it, it doesn't seem to react. It's not putting out energy the way even like minor magic items just put out trace amounts of energy. If you didn't know what it was supposed to be and you saw it, you would think, here's a weird glowing starfish thing. Once you get past that and you start poking at it, it seems to be maybe more of a colony of things than an individual thing. It seems to be made up of all these little, like when you look at it, it looks like a bumpy little blue starfish, and it's kind of pudgy. But once you get close to it, you see that it's, covered in these little bumps. But eventually it really seems to be that it is actually made up of sort of these discrete, irregularly shaped beads that form a starfish, although they don't, if you mildly brush them or even like poke at them or tug on them a little bit, they don't seem to break apart easily. They're attached, and they're not. They're also not like rolling or moving, right? It's like they attach at particular points, and it's not like nanites or anything. They're not like moving around. They're just kind of held together.
Does it react to just general stimuli? Like, does it move or
only? I mean, in the way that you would expect. It is sort of a spongy bit of material. So if you pulse some energy through it, it reacts. It like shifts around or absorbs it or rejects it or whatever. Just kind of in its own, or not in a way that immediately tells you anything too important. Although it does seem to favor radiant energy if you can muster it.
I can do that.
But just like poking it, does it like slither or just?
Yeah, no, it doesn't try to get away from you if you poke it.
It does not look like a
much
sentient. It doesn't act like a sentient thing.
No.
It doesn't act like it's alive.
Okay.
Definitely not when you poke it. Like if you just take a pointy bit of metal and poke at it, it's just like it's kind of like a big bean bag or something like that. It just you can poke into it. It doesn't like it's a little bit elastic,
Mm-hmm.
Can you
but nothing too extreme.
Weave something through it between these beads?
What would you like to weave between it?
Just a thin metal rod.
Okay.
To see if
yeah, I mean it'll accept it to maybe a quarter of an inch, and then it's you can't. It's like dense enough that you can't move it too much more to put it farther in. But yeah, you can basically find enough of a groove to get a prod deep into it, or at least that deep into it.
What does it taste like? Orm liquid.
Oh
Okay.
my god.
Randus looks a little bit horrified.
It tastes blue.
That perfect. Randus.
Yes.
It's not attached to anything. And remember, it said that if we attach it to a weapon, that weapon can kill a god. Do you think if we attach it to a weapon,
Sakar puts a scimitar on the table?
Something would happen? And the other question would be, how easy is it to be removed from that weapon? Can we take it off one weapon and put it onto another weapon?
That's really hard saying.
Rodrigo, he didn't. The thing that shatters the sky, did he say it could be taken off and removed and put back on? Or
I don't think he specifically said that.
Okay.
Scimitar on the table. Big gold scimitar.
I pull out my sword.
I also have a scythe. I'd be willing to.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great.
You see that thing on the table?
Wait, turn me around.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Does it do anything for you?
I don't know. Am I supposed to stab it?
No, it's supposed to attach to a weapon.
Oh.
And then
Well,
you're
it's
supposed
not-
to stab something.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's do it.
I don't know.
Let's do it.
It's tempting.
You can all hear this, by the way, in your heads.
Oh.
Perhaps a weapon that is not sentient?
I think
Yeah, but
that'd be a good idea.
this is a pretty good weapon, though.
Oh.
Also, those of you in the other room, like going through stuff, you kind of can hear the sword talking in your heads.
Is that not your primary weapon?
It is.
Ket,
Should.
is Orin's sword talking to you?
I think so.
Is that something we should look into?
Nah, we're good for right now.
Gets used to hearing
It's
voices
like-
in his head.
or Ket has his finger on something, and he's like, "If I take my finger off of this, I'm never going to be able to find it again."
What do you
Pretty
think?
much.
What do you think, Randus?
Seeing as we don't know what effects, if any, it might have if we try attaching it to a weapon, I kind of feel like maybe we should use, an ancillary one in case.
Yeah, but maybe if it was attached to this one, he could tell us it could tell us what's going on.
Has
Maybe.
it ever been to tell us anything?
Oh, he talks to me all the time.
But has it ever been able to tell us anything?
Yeah, sure.
No.
Yes.
We have repeatedly
It
asked this
used
sword.
to tell me what the woman next door was always doing.
That's disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
Master Rivendor.
Yes. Or
Someone. Doesn't matter. Did you not tell me that
I thought you were supposed to be
this-
doing research with everyone else.
I'm looking over your shoulder
Uh-huh.
to make sure that you don't do something wrong?
I'm not going to do anything wrong.
Did you not tell us that your sword was created by accidentally exposing some sort of parasitic creature to a sword?
Yeah.
Do you think that adding an additional possible creature to a sword that is already some sort of strange hybrid and in fact sentient, without knowing the possible ramifications of whether it can be removed and what type of effects it would have on that weapon, is entirely wise?
I don't know. I mean, we have things on us all the time. Things that are inside you, and other things get added to you all the time. And, those things are somewhat sentient too.
May I attempt something?
No.
Before we
No,
make
go
this
away.
decision?
This is let the Arcana Magic-y types work on this.
What are you thinking, Sakar?
I would like to attempt to communicate or examine the item using my particular branch of the mysticality.
Vampire arts?
I mean, you can try. I don't think it's particularly, sapient or sentient.
But we haven't seen how it responds to the primal.
I suppose that's true enough.
Can I do a nature check?
Yeah, what do you do?
I pick it up.
Lick
I hold it in my left hand.
Lick it.
I
Okay.
do not lick it. I attempt to field talk at it with the thing, with the nature, to assess whether it has any type of consciousness or live living thingness. There's a word for that.
Sure. Okay, yeah, give me a nature roll.
How do you feel about a 28?
It's
Seems
not
a little
bad.
low.
So the moment that Sakar picks it up, he can tell it's alive. And it is only upon closer inspection that he realizes that its alive in a very technical sense. Like, when you watch TV and you watch people on TV and they move around and stuff, and it's like you're actually looking at a bunch of still images and it tricks your eye into thinking that it's alive. That's kind of what this thing is doing. It's because of the complexity of it and because of the energy within it, it's technically alive. You are interacting with a living creature, but Sakar is also very aware that it's some sort of machine as well.
It's definitely alive. Sort of. Does it respond at all? Or is it just sort of...
Well, we've been poking it and prodding it.
Poking it and prodding it.
And shaking it and licking it. I haven't heard.
So, yeah, you've been poking it and prodding it. So we'll say this. As Sakar analyzes it, it doesn't really seem to respond, but at one point, we'll say that Sakar places it just to kind of get a feel for what it feels like on the back of his hand. Like basically takes one hand and puts it essentially on the back, like close to the knuckles. And it takes two of its little arms and wraps itself around Sakar's wrists, two others, and wraps itself around his palm, essentially. And then one more that goes between his index and middle finger. And it just kind of like clicks onto his hand.
Quick, cut off his hand.
Let's not resort to that yet.
Does it seem to be any cause for concern?
No, it doesn't hurt.
I'm going to attempt to remove it.
You remove it. It just lets go.
I'm going to place it on... Does Orem still have his sword out?
Of course, it's been watching the entire time.
Sakar's going to place it on Sakar's sword then.
Okay. Sakar places it on his sword and it attaches itself to the hilt. Basically, two of its little arms straddle the blade. Two others, the crossguard, or two go below the crossguard, and then one just kind of is flat against the handle.
Well, looks like it won't come off.
I don't think that's what he said. Orem takes it off.
It comes off.
Interesting. And I didn't feel anything odd when it was on my hand.
Nope.
Sakar's going to place it on Randus's metal fist.
Okay. It goes inside it. It basically wiggles its way into the mechanism.
Can you still move your hand?
Can I?
Yep. It doesn't seem to be causing any problems. In fact, other than the fact that you have pressure sensors in there, you wouldn't be able to tell that it's in there. You have like full range. Also, when you basically like if you make a fist and then you were to like say turn your wrist towards your face, you'd be able to see it poking out the back a little bit. Like it's not like completely into the thing. It's just kind of trying to find a good place to attach itself where it doesn't hinder things.
Sakar, pick up that table.
Can I
pick up that little table over there?
All right.
And hold it out in front of you.
All right.
Punch it, Randus.
Let's not do that right now.
Well, we got to see. We got to see if it has additional powers or...
Nope, I'm pulling this thing out.
Okay. It comes out.
Okay.
Like easily. It doesn't struggle or anything. You can you can get two fingers on it and then you just pull it right out.
Well, we know that it is removable and modular.
But we don't know if it does anything, right? I mean...
Well, we know what it does.
Well, we know what it's supposed to do, but we don't know how it's doing it. And if we can understand how it does what it is supposed to do, it might give us leverage. But it might give us an advantage.
I'm not certain how we're supposed to ascertain how it kills a god without a god to kill.
Well, we don't know how it works. So, test it on something. See what kind of reaction it gets.
I can't imagine that a wooden table...
Well, maybe Randus feels more powerful. Maybe it increases his punch or thrust or something.
I don't know if we need to go breaking furniture just yet.
This is why science has not progressed as far as it should have on this plane. Well, it's certainly not something that's delicate. It's not going to break.
Yet.
I don't think it'll break at all. I mean, if you're going to be fighting a god with this, if someone is going to kill a god, unless you're slipping in when he or she or it is asleep, there's going to be some damage going on.
We didn't put it on Orm's living sword, did we?
No.
Boy, I almost said, what's the worst that could happen? I should know better. Yeah, our season break was too long. I almost had a moment of hopeful, youthful abandon there. Should we try it on his sword, Warden, do you think?
Sounds like a decent plan to me.
All right. Put on a sword.
Okay. You put it on the sword. It attaches itself on the crossguard, essentially on the opposite side of the eye.
Feel anything?
Oh, you talking to me?
Yes.
Well, there's this thing on me.
Yeah. Do you feel any? I mean, do you sense anything? Does it make you feel different?
You mean other than by having something attached to me?
Yes.
No, it feels the same.
Okay. All right. Take it off.
Okay, bye.
All right. Put the sword back in the sheath. See, that wasn't so hard.
Whatever it is, it seems to be inert.
Well, until it's activated or until it's used.
Well, yeah, it's pretty smart.
Was that the sword?
Yep. Although I don't know that I would call it a nerd.
Inert.
What do you mean smart?
I don't know. Seems to know what's going on, you know?
Did it communicate with you?
Well, I talked to it.
What did it say? Did it say anything back to you?
Yeah.
What did it say?
It said hi.
What did you say to it?
I asked it if it had any friends, and it said no.
Did it say anything else?
What?
Did it say anything else?
Well, I kind of lost interest there, so no.
I put it back on the sword.
Okay.
Can you talk to it and find out how it sends the energy to the thing that shatters the sky?
Okay. It says that it uses a conduit of will.
Can you ask it if there's a way to transfer that energy to someone else?
Well, there's a will, there's a way.
It says probably.
Does it have a name?
Nope, doesn't sound like it.
Randus, do you have any questions?
Are there any requirements for any specific recipients? For any potential recipients?
Recipients of being stabbed?
No, of who would ever gain the power of the stabbed.
Oh, okay, I'll ask. It says that the first time it's used, it has to send it back to the conduit, but it doesn't have to do it after that.
Interesting.
So it can be used more than once.
I guess I just kind of assumed that it could be used more than once. It seemed like the thing that shattered the sky wanted as much power as it could get.
Well, I guess it's good he's not greedy. I really don't think we want to let this information get out.
I agree. I talk to the sword. You don't tell anyone else about this conversation.
Okay.
No one.
Not a soul.
Not a soul. Take the
Not a god.
starfish off.
Okay.
Could we still hear it at that point?
No, it's it kind of quieted down when it started talking to the thing.
Okay, cool.
I put the sword back where it belongs. Lay the starfish on the table.
Okay.
Well, this is interesting.
Well,
Interesting.
It has to send the energy back
the first
time.
What do we suppose the likelihood is that it is aware of our experimentation?
As I said before, I honestly think that it anticipated everything we were going to do.
No, not the creature. The thing that shattered the sky.
That's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing that shattered the sky, as I said earlier, knew that we were going to test it. It is our nature. We've tested other things before that it knows of, and I think it just anticipates that Randus and I were going to poke and prod and test it as much as we could. I don't think that it was an accident that we know this information. I think I just assumed that the thing that shattered the sky wanted more than one god.
Yeah, well.
And I think now that we know that additional power can be sent to other places, I think it encourages us, intentionally or unintentionally, to consider that maybe other gods will fall by this weapon as well. It's something to think about. But I agree, we need to just keep this between us.
Mm-hmm.
It is worrisome.
I certainly, at this point, considering some of the entities involved, I don't think we should share all of the information with Ket.
That I agree with.
Not that I don't like Ket. I just know that he can be...
No. Agreed. There, in as much as I initially worried that the starfish would allow the thing to monitor us, it occurs to me that it probably can monitor us regardless, and the same is likely true of Asmodeus, given his easy relationship with Hazard. I don't believe that it's paranoid to try and keep such information from him for
I think we
own
can
good.
share some of the information.
Oh,
But
certainly.
this part about transferring once and then being able to transfer possibly other places after, that's just right here in this room.
Mm-hmm. Let's hope these talks go well, I suppose. Even though I know they won't.
Well, yes. All right. I have a couple questions for Ket.
Well, you know where he is.
I do. So Orem walks into the room.
Okay. Yep.
Hey.
They're like reading over things, and like it's like as you walk in, like Ket is literally handing little Sparkle like a bunch of notes, and she's like handing him a bunch of notes.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going.
All right.
Good. So the thing is kind of alive in a weird sort of way.
Thought you were going to wait to experiment on that thing.
Initial experimentation leads to initial early research, and we, found a little bit out about it, which is good. Now we just need to find out how it really works. The good thing is it'll attach to just about anything that can be used as a weapon.
That's neat.
Yeah. How is your research going?
Complicated. Seems like we've got eventually they're gonna, once everyone realizes Bahamut is dead, they're gonna have to call a new meeting, and at that point there's a negotiation period, and then if they fail to reach an agreement, there's a week in which 2 weeks in which the gods start waking up, and then after that everything gets real weird.
They also have, a week to actually call this a meeting?
Yes.
A week from when?
From
Today.
now.
The death of Bahamut triggered that.
Ah, okay. That seems very, like we're on a tight deadline.
Yep, so let's hope they're right about us getting an invite to this party.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of gods going to a party. Ket.
Mm-hmm.
You've got part of the Raven Queen in you, right?
I have a piece of her soul, yes.
Is there a way to, get that bit and the Obsidian Huntress reconnected back together again? Would that solve this problem? Because then you'd have one of the gods back. Maybe it would reset the treaty.
I've been thinking about that. I'm not sure how we'd actually be able to get it back together based on the rules of the tournament. Also, we'd have to convince her to agree with it, and we haven't really done anything with the Huntress yet.
Right. It's just a thought, because, maybe it's okay to give some things back, Ket.
Did you have your sword out for a bit?
Oh, yes. It says hi.
We heard it.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah, I guess. I wonder how much of the rest of the ship heard it.
Oh, I'm sure everybody heard it if he was talking. How much did you hear?
That's not at all a suspicious question, is it?
Why?
It's out of character, sorry.
Why? Oh, I want to make sure that everyone has the same information.
Okay. So why don't you just... What do you mean?
Well, what did you hear?
About the sword chatting with us?
Yeah.
Why does it matter?
I want to make sure he wasn't talking to you and saying other things that he shouldn't have been.
What would he be saying that it shouldn't have been?
Oh, who knows? How's your mom, Ket? What's your mom up to, Ket? Ket, do you have a part of a god inside you, Ket?
This really sound more like questions you would ask than
no,
the sword.
This is stuff that definitely the sword would ask. Believe me.
I know he wouldn't at least ask the first two.
Oh, you haven't known this sword as long as I have.
You wouldn't ask the first two. You know my mother is passed.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that seems like you were really insensitive questions then.
Have you met the sword?
No, I'm not being you, joking around, inserting things into your sword's mouth that are
Oh, I know that the sword would come up with things like that. He badgered someone for almost an entire year, constantly, to see if they had nuts stored in their cupboard.
Why would he want nuts?
He doesn't want the nuts. He just wanted the person to think that they ran out of nuts, and they kept checking their cupboard.
Wow. Your sword is awful.
Kind of.
Can it hear me talking about it?
I can.
Oh. It's really rude.
But what is?
Harassing someone about nuts for no... why would you do that?
Well, I didn't know if they had enough nuts.
But why does that matter?
Well, why does anything matter?
Okay.
See what I'm dealing with?
Right? Alive, dead. It doesn't matter.
I guess
Where do
not
you
if you're a
live?
sword.
Where do you live? How many bricks is it made out of? That's important.
Well, one of those is, and one of those is very not. Unless the bricks number is like 0.
That's right. If you don't have enough bricks, then you don't actually live there.
But it can be not made of bricks.
Well, what is it made of?
What does it matter?
It doesn't.
Okay.
Why did they have you out?
Me?
Yeah.
I was talking to the starfish.
Seriously?
Did you attach the starfish to your sword?
Yeah, we also attached it to Sakar's thingy, and to his hand, and to Randus's fist. It went inside Randus's fist. It was pretty crazy, let me tell you. All right, sword, thanks. Put it away.
Okay. Bye.
Wait, so what did the starfish say to your sword?
It talked about that it was technically alive, and that it's a conduit to the thing that shatters the sky. Kind of what we knew. We didn't leave it on there for very long, because personally I was afraid that they might become too attached to one another.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a terrible idea.
To begin with?
To see
we
what would happen.
verified that it could be removed first.
I don't know that you verified it could be removed from a parasite. Are you trying to like stack parasites onto your sword to create like some kind of super bug?
Ooh, that's a good idea.
That is not a good idea. That is the opposite of a good idea. We should call this thing the super bug.
It was able to be removed from a mundane object. Well, from my fist. It was able to be removed from a magical sword. There didn't seem to be any immediate danger. And the hope was that it could, in fact, communicate with Master Rivendoran's sword in the hopes that we could find out more about the being.
Yeah, to see how it works.
Think of it now.
Did I just hear you say you attached to your hand first?
To Sakar's hand.
That may have been accidental.
That is so not comforting.
The accident is slightly comforting.
Is it? That just shows that they're doing sloppy lab work.
Put it on one of their allies.
Well, I mean, the ally put it on himself. I mean...
I think that if we are going to work as separate units, that it behooves each of us to not judge the other in what we do or do not do. In any case, we did verify that the starfish could be removed from a device and that it didn't seem to have any consciousness per se of its own before we attached it to the sword in order to see if they could communicate. And in fact, they could. We've actually discovered more information. Thus, I'd say the experiment was a success.
Exactly. Science. High fives, Randus.
Randus seems so enthused.
Sakar is giving you the serious dude what the hell side eye in that I'm actually helping you make this argument and you're still excluding me and I'm hurt. I'm hurt, I'm sad.
I do a low five for
Sakar.
Sakar wants to be a member of Nerd Club.
It's all subtext.
Let him be a member of Nerd Club.
Nope. It's too late now. No, it's gone, man. There was a moment.
Not nerdy enough for the nerds, not cool enough for the cool kids. What's a jock to do?
Hit something with a sword really, really hard. But no, it was there for a minute, and now it's gone.
It's an emo club.
Yeah, you'd have to roll.
Oh, yeah, a goth club.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I've already got the fangs of the black hair, so...
Exactly.
All I have to do is learn how to dance while staring at my shoes.
So, Ket, we're not always privy to your conversations with people you're owed favors to. Have you had any communication with Osmodeus? Has he reached out at all?
Not since our separation.
Okay. And as far as we know, you haven't been called off to go gamble?
You guys were with me the last time I was called.
Yes. How does that work? Do you have a direct line to Asmodeus?
No. Well, no more than anybody who would pray to him. Maybe a little more than someone who prays to him. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, I just wanted to know what was going on with the Raven Queen and you, and if you had thought about, getting them back together.
Yeah. Based on our research, is there even a idea that might help, or is it too late?
It doesn't really specify that potential thing. By the strictest reading, it could. Basically, a party would be back. So then, if that works, then it would potentially work.
All right.
I guess the other thing is, through your research, have you figured out how to consolidate power? Or how power could be consolidated enough to stop this?
Not really. We don't know the players. That's the problem. It basically has to be gods. It can't be other particularly powerful beings. So I think we're going to actually...
gods or...
not unless something real weird's going on. They have to have portfolios.
Oh, okay.
Multiple portfolios.
I see.
So I think basically we just need to wait and see what shakes out when things start waking up and coming out of the woodwork, which is really bad because once that starts happening, the gods and the new gods can start actively gunning for each other.
Yeah, and that seems pretty chaotic.
Oh, yeah.
Sparkle, are there gods on the southern continent as such?
Not really. I mean, now that I know a little bit more about how Capricorn gets its power, I guess they're the same gods as your continent, but no one really worships them except for Capricorn. And apparently Capricorn just steals divine magic from other gods.
Okay. So right now, the only gods we know of are the 10, 9, the Void, and Cord.
Who's Cord?
Orm?
I'm not Cord.
No.
Do you want to field that one?
It's kind of slipping my memory right now, I'll be honest with you.
I believe you told us that Cord was one of the sleeping gods that you had to harvest some sort of
hair
power from.
Right. Yes. Want something fancy.
Yeah.
We did figure out one thing that might be of help to Randus.
What's that?
I'm going to point at Randus's time harness. How big can you make one of those?
That's a good question.
That basically stabilizes your time, correct?
Yeah.
So if time starts to go, we need that.
I don't know. We can generate enough power. It just might be a matter of how big we can make a cage.
Can you make individualized ones?
Maybe.
All
yeah,
right.
because if time starts breaking down, it's going to get really bad.
And the 5 of us at least need to be stabilized at the same rate.
So you're wanting to know if he can extrapolate the technology in the harness to keep the 5 of us coexistent in
More or
whatever
less,
time.
yeah.
Well, if we want to... That could be a little bit more difficult if we're wanting to fix individuals rather than a particular location. And that...
I mean, if it's location-based, I guess we could try to make sure that our base of operation is on par.
The base of operations and the boat?
Sure.
Possibly.
But if the device keeps you anchored at a specific point, wouldn't it be possible to create something that would, I don't know, bond to that or stay with that regardless of our position?
That's what we've got Orman Randus for.
I'll have to see. So you got some notes for me?
Yeah. Essentially, without the treaty, all living entities and some otherwise travel through time at their own rate.
Mm-hmm.
More or less what you were doing, right?
Something like that.
Okay. And if a group is together, their time will synchronize.
All right.
And apparently gods have a large synchronization field.
That makes sense.
So simply convince time that one of us is a god.
Could we enhance the field from your personal unit?
Dare I even ask why any of this is... why Randus is walking around with a personal time control unit?
He broke time once.
Okay, of course he did.
Have you noticed that when he ceases to exist, it's not exactly teleportation? He literally ceases to exist?
No, I honestly thought it was like some kind of phase step thing, that I was going to some pocket dimension.
He's literally turning off the anchor that holds him in place, or technically in time? I want to punch myself in the face for actually saying that, but nonetheless, it seems to be true.
Yeah, that was not a conclusion I was going to jump to.
Yeah, that's basically it.
It's actually terribly useful in combat situations.
Or if you just generally don't want to be somewhere.
I told you many times that it would be uncomfortable. It was not necessary to cease to exist just to avoid an audience.
Well, I think that depends on how small the audience. But anyway, I don't know. I'll have to look into this and see what I can do to amplify this field. I feel like that's going to have to amp quite a bit of power through.
Would it be possible to just create some sort of synchronization device? Something that would simply keep us linked to whatever time, space you exist in?
I mean, I can
The good news is that time isn't going to break down quickly. So we have time, at least for now.
Define not quickly.
It's going to fray on the edges first.
Honestly, my guess is that it'll be worse in the natural world before it gets bad here, considering that the gods exert undue influence.
I also think it'll be worse in less populated areas.
Why is that?
The group synchronization thing?
Sure. There'll be more spread out people in there. Yeah, great. Cool.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to have to research into this and see what's possible. Might be hard telling until some slippage starts occurring.
Yep, I think we're in a incredibly infuriating holding pattern, since we don't know who the gods are that we can negotiate with, and we don't know how this time mess is going to manifest.
Well, as been mentioned, we do know where one of the gods are.
This. Oh, Cord?
Yes.
Where is he?
In his city?
Yes.
Where is the city relative to here?
It's a good question.
Somebody can give me either a... I will take either a religion check or a history check.
History it is?
History it is.
History it is. 37.
23.
Yeah.
Would get this one?
It's not close, but if Orem remembers correctly, you should be able to get there within a couple days. And then, down a horrible temporal rabbit hole and having to sleep in order to access certain segments of it, and potentially getting displaced from other people depending on when you fall asleep, if I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm. Sounds all right, correct?
Orem never did fall asleep, though, did he?
Nope. No, he did eventually, somehow. I mean, he ended up in the... Oh, no, he got, transported in a different way. He just took a bunch of bumps to the head.
Yeah. That's probably why I don't remember.
I tried.
Yeah.
Do we continue to go to our base, find out what's there, and then head off in that direction, which may not be
I think
the best?
First things first, we should really try to be at this meeting and see.
Right.
So I don't want to go trekking off to anywhere else until we get wind of when and where it's happening.
And if we know that the prophecy says that this first coalition will not succeed, and we know that after it fails, there's a window in which gods could awaken, then we do at least have a solid time frame for knowing when, maybe not where or whom, but when things would start awakening. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's going to be, as soon as the deal gets scrapped, there's a 2-week period in which any gods that are going to show up have to show up.
Which sounds like we have roughly a week where...
Sometime within the week, that 2-week period is going to start.
Correct.
So we've got
But
a
we won't
soft
know.
time frame followed by a hard time frame.
All I know is I'm not riding in the cargo bay again.
Shouldn't be necessary.
I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, you guys are like celestial bigwigs or whatever, so, it's not like we're trying to do a stealth mission, I assume.
I, too, am here by association. Remember, I was not part of this
Oh,
group
sorry.
at the
You
time.
talk with such familiarity of your time with Randus, I forget that.
Well, we did spend several years, but this came after.
Yeah, I mean, are you going to get guest passes to this thing to bring Sakar and I?
I think you two are our plus ones.
Yes.
Oh,
I don't think...
great.
You've heard everyone. Ket and Orem and Randus and the rest of the party, and you're the rest of the party.
And we're...
I feel so special.
On the plus side, maybe you'll get a fancy statue erected in your honor.
I thought that only happens when you're dead.
No, but after seeing that statue, I kind of...
When I am old, I'm going to tell the story of how Mayayudal and Sakaro Blia saved the world with the help of 3 other gentlemen.
Maybe. Who knows?
When
Maybe
I
we'll
am
be there
old,
too.
I will not tell this story because no one would believe it.
Yeah, it works sometimes. So I think for now we've got, another day and a half before we get to the research station. We should probably work on how we're going to communicate, at least attempt to communicate with the remainder of the Pentatheon, especially the Huntress, if your idea is sound, Orem. Do we know if we can redirect where the starfish sends the energy?
Not at this time.
Yeah.
Right now, if we kill a god, it's going to the thing.
Yeah.
While we're talking communication, is there a way that you can help me send a message to Teach to find out if he's safe?
Oh, yeah. I might be able to. It's going to take a lot of
resources.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna have to far sending, which is 800.
Far sending, yeah.
Or, I mean, we know they're on the prime material plane, so if we have planar sending.
Well, far sending would do it.
Yep.
Right? Or
Yep.
planar sending.
Mm-hmm.
I think far sending still has to be in the same plane.
Yeah, far sending functions like sending, except you don't make an Arcana check to determine its range. Far sending can deliver messages anywhere, regardless of distance or location. It appears in the manual of Plane's book. The planar sending says you convey a mental message of up to 25 words to a person you know on another plane. So it seems like we would have to do planar sending. You must choose a plane when you complete the ritual. If the target is not on that plane, he or she does not receive the message. That is from Dragon Magazine, though.
This is what I don't like about far sending, because the flavor text says you cast your senses beyond plane or boundaries to deliver a message to a distant creature. But it doesn't talk about planes within the actual text.
Mm-hmm. That's lame.
Well, planar sending... Yeah, I'm willing to let far sending do that and
planar
supersede.
Sending's a lower level.
Yeah, and planar sending comes from Dragon Magazine, whereas far sending actually comes from a published book. So I'm willing to say that far sending is what you want.
Okay.
10-minute cast time, no check.
Yeah, but
when you say a lot of resources, how much are you talking?
800.
800 gold?
Yep.
That's not that bad.
Nah.
Well, do you guys actually have it?
I only got 53 myself.
Are you talking about gold or the far sending?
No, the ritual.
Yeah, I don't have the ritual.
No.
Well, then I guess that's moot.
Does Randus have it?
Not that I'm seeing.
Okay, so you're gonna have to spend some time researching it.
Yeah.
And pay the 4,200 gold to research it, and then you can send it for 800 gold.
It is going to take some resources.
Yeah, Sparkle will happily pay that.
Okay.
So basically 5,000.
5,000 gold?
On my last notes, personally in Orem's bag, I had 16,000 gold. How much do you have?
I had 53 gold and 98 silver.
Okay.
Yep.
I have 102,000.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was carrying around a bunch of loot, and B had sold a major magic weapon. So
okay. All right.
So yeah.
I also have. I don't even know what the conversion is. An astral diamond and 50 platinum.
Okay. So we have more than enough.
Okay.
Yeah. So she will just hand you a sack of gold.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of us kept our own money.
So, 5,000 will cover the cost of research and one sending.
And great.
All right, I'll do that.
Thanks. It just with it turning out that Tekiatl was not who he said he was. I just need to.
I'll just say, you keep your money. I'll take care of this time.
An astral diamond is 10,000 gold.
Dang.
A platinum is 100 gold.
Platinum's only 100 gold.
Okay, Orem's going to learn far sending.
I am. It's going to take almost until we get to the to the location to learn it.
Yep.
Is there something that do you have a message that you want to send?
Oh, yes. Let me think. How it can only be 25 words?
This one does not have doesn't say a limit.
Says it functions like sending, though.
Yeah,
right?
so it would be 25 words.
All right, let me work something out.
Okay.
Sending can go to any living person, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
As long as you know them.
As long as I know them.
As long as you have met them in person.
Oh.
So we could send to any god except for Vecna.
And presumably Bahamut, so.
Yes.
Well, living.
I know, too soon.
And possibly the Thing.
Is that a different plane, or is that's a whole different
That's a whole different
reality?
X,
yeah, and again, magic may not work there like it does here.
He didn't give us any instructions on contacting him or anything, did he?
Nope.
He's like, here's the thing, I'm sending you back.
Yeah, you can either do it or not do it, but I have a feeling you're going to do it.
Because he's seen us do it before in the future.
Yes. Funny how that all works.
Mm-hmm.
I've got
Does
the
that thing only
message
work
for
on
you.
divine energies?
Okay.
Are you okay? I'm on the astral plane trying to save the world. Techiatl is a Capricorn bruise. Please protect my dad and stay safe.
Did we do a hashtag keep it cryptic, hashtag sending? Is that what we do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Hashtag critical hit.
Oh, shoot, I forgot to put the hashtag critical hit in. All right, so what else is going on? I'm busy researching.
You don't sleep, do you? You can just research straight through for 2 days.
I have to meditate.
Yeah, I think I would also be researching into the timey-wiminess and what might be theoretically possible to make to
Okay.
lock people in.
I'm probably going to continue to research the treaty. Have Guy look over it as well.
Having part of the Raven Queen soul, does that at all make you subject to the treaty?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Ket has to sign the treaty. Are we in a city or a settlement or what?
We're on the ocean.
We're on a boat.
We're on a boat on the ocean. That's
If
right.
Ket qualifies as
sorry.
a potential party of this treaty, that could be beneficial.
It could. And then again, it's Ket. Sakar's going to see if anybody on the ship is a fellow brain face type.
A fellow what?
A mind flare like that one we fought. No.
You know, people with weird primal wardeny druidy type powers or anything.
No. Everyone here is by default a martial type,
Okay,
except
'cause they're
for
safe.
Sarza.
I could hang out with Sarza.
Yeah.
Is she cute?
I mean, if you're into like that, what I want to say, like, Lydia from Beetlejuice.
Dude, you've seen Sakar's mom. I'm just
Yes.
saying. You invented Sakar's mom.
I did.
There's a good chance that the pale, freaky type is entirely his thing.
I mean, there were definitely like plenty of unrelated ladies of the court like that, because it's like in the Oblia Keep, it's like always raining, and there's like waves crashing and boats like going into shore by themselves and creepy mist. So
Wait, is this things that happened or just weird Freudian metaphor?
this is both.
Okay. I'm with you.
It was things were tough for Sakar growing up.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into the dark circles on the ice and somebody who seems pretty serious, then sure.
You know, what the heck? We haven't done this in a few seasons.
What's happening?
I'm just trying to decide whether it's totally inappropriate to even, to go and, flirt with a young lady with the entire universe at stake. I think probably my sense of propriety would preclude that at this point in time. But if there's everybody on the ship is basically Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
We are Marshall. Maybe I can find somebody to practice Marshall stuff of a fighty type region thing with, if they have, like shifts and such.
Oh yeah, you can definitely find someone to spar with.
That'll work. That's a good way to spend a couple of days when you're not smart enough to be with a smart team or clever enough to be with a clever team.
Yeah.
We are Team Sexy, sir.
You may think of yourself however you wish, sir.
It's all about the charisma bonus.
Yeah. Sakar can find someone to spar with. There's a couple of so the crew is about 12 people. There are 4 humans, 2 orcs, 1 Kenku, 3 dwarves, and 2 dragonborn, and the captain. So that's not counting the captain and Sarza. And they work in about shifts of 6 or 7, depending. So there's definitely a couple of people. There's this human lady and orc guy. And they're generally regarded as the best fighters on the crew, with the exception possibly of the captain. So they, you can spar with them pretty much all you want. They don't have they just have normal, or they have normal straight swords on board, but there's plenty of staves and stuff too if you want to keep it strictly non-stabbing.
Yeah, non-stabby is probably a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, they're just nowhere near your level of expertise, even if you don't use any weird powers from any of the weird sources of powers that you have.
I do have a few.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
can I get any interesting information or gossip while we're doing the thing?
Sure. What would you like to know?
I don't honestly know. I mean, we're suddenly on the Astral Sea. We know what we're going. Do they know any rumors or any things that may or may not have anything to do with what just happened back at the fortress? I mean, is there anything that they know that I do not regarding the possibilities of all this, or are they just sailors who came in?
Yeah, I mean, this is clearly a very professional crew.
Mm-hmm.
And they were brought, each of them was handpicked by the captain. And it's all very hush-hush and need to know, they're not given any additional information. They do tell you very early on, and you can probably spot it in little sparkle, that you should definitely position your bed in a particular place in the room because the engines vibrate the whole thing pretty much imperceptibly. So if your bed is touching the wall, you won't get any sleep.
Your bed will vibrate.
Yep. And you won't be able to tell, but you won't be able to fall asleep. So definitely after that first night, little Sparkle, who probably, I'm guessing no one informs of this, gets a terrible night's sleep.
Great. Now she hates this even more.
I'll make sure to tell her.
Okay.
You know that you have to move the bed away from the wall, right?
How would I possibly know that?
You are a very worldly person, and frankly,
worldly, not of the world, not this.
This is merely another type of world. If you move the bed away from the wall, it won't vibrate. And honestly, knowing our comrades as you do you think that you and I are any less capable or qualified to be in this situation?
I mean, I guess that's a good / depressing point.
I learned a long time ago that there's an awful lot of power to be had in presuming that you are the next highest authority in any situation. So, if no one sees that you're uncomfortable, if no one sees that the situation feels like it's beyond you, they'll presume that you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Walk into a room like you own the place. I guess I'm just trying to get that out of my system here, since I figure, like, I don't know, I'm probably going to have to be doing diplomacy with actual gods coming up. I mean, that seems to be Ket's area of expertise, but he's not a liar, and I feel like we're going to need a lot of lying to get through this. Like, a lot.
Well, and please be aware that this is entirely complimentary. You may be the best liar I've ever met.
Oh, thank you. It is flattering.
And as I am an inveterate liar myself, I am sorry that I didn't tell you earlier. But move the bed away from the wall.
Oh, okay. How do you know this?
I listen. And to be honest, they told me yesterday afternoon. I didn't realize it myself.
All right. Well, yeah, I haven't had a chance to go carousing with the crew yet. I've been studying this stupid treaty.
There are benefits to being entirely the strong arm.
Well, thanks for the tip. I'm going to take a nap.
Away from the wall.
Yeah, got it.
All right. So let's talk to Randus about the space-time continuum.
All right.
Science it up, science man.
Science it up. So here are a few, I guess, thoughts. Randus's time harness works the way it does because Randus is himself sort of unstuck.
Mm-hmm.
And tends to generally draw power from that mess.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially using the strain of, an atemporal issue to ground himself. And that's why he can essentially turn it off in short bursts without any real ill effects. So a harness like that would be possible under two circumstances. One, there would have to be some sort of big temporal event that each recipient of the harness undergoes. And two, as you well know, that it has to be like literally attached to your body.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have to turn the party into robots.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one potential option.
Can we take a vote on whether that's a real
So option 2 might allow some sort of like synchronization thing to your time signature, but the problem is that anytime you disrupt your own time signature for whatever reason, it would disrupt, or rather, it would lose contact.
Mm-hmm.
And then reestablishing that contact might be tough if they're not around, which is pretty much when you would want it. Because again, according to your research, as long as you're all in the same room, you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's like potentially you would want this to be true as you're farther away.
Mm-hmm.
Lastly, and again, these are all just sort of preliminary thoughts, the idea of you sort of broadcasting this over a larger area is feasible, assuming that you get a significant source of energy, which really could be anything, and a large enough framework, but also you would have to be part of it. So the earliest model that you can draw up basically has you turning into a building or potentially a ship.
I vote ship.
2 votes for ship. Wait,
And-
what kind of a
and-
building?
I mean, you could potentially be any sort of building. It just has to be something that is like you need a significant amount of infrastructure to create this stable time bubble. So it would have to be a ship that's bigger than this one, or a building that's, at least 10 stories. And, you could do potentially anything with that building, because the important thing is the framework of the building.
So you could
So,
go
you could,
Art
yeah, you
Deco
could- you could be a rec center or an office building.
The plucky teens from across the
I was gonna say,
tracks
and then
have to
I
come
get shut down, and the teens have to dance off to.
Yep, to save you.
Yes.
save you from
Yeah.
Shooter McGavin. It's all.
I'm feeling like the using me as an anchor point, as long as I don't disrupt my own timeline, sounds like the most feasible option here currently.
Currently, yes.
Yeah. So that's probably
I mean, again,
the one
these are just like the most preliminary drafts.
Although the Earthbound contingent does sound fun, but yeah, I think that's probably the one I'm going to be mostly focusing on making.
Okay.
Actually engineering a solution towards.
Okay. All right. Who else? Ket's still pouring over the thing, or what's Ket doing?
Pouring over the thing, attempting to pray to the Huntress.
Okay. There's no immediate response from that.
Okay. Debating if it's a good idea to pray to Asmodeus. He's going to be working on, I don't know, letters or messages to each of the gods.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% how I want to present that yet.
Okay.
I'll speak with Guy to see if this is causing any sort of rumbles in the Cobalt Alley yet.
Well, according to him, it doesn't seem to be. Like there are like more matches going on now, and maybe that's in preparation. But there doesn't seem to be any sort of like actual commotion.
Okay. How many of the matches involve people sponsored by Asmodeus? Or is that information I would even be privy to?
Yeah, you're not really privy to that information directly.
Okay. I'm going to approach Sparkle at
Okay.
one point.
Sure.
Oh, she looks a lot better now.
That's
She's
good.
gotten some sleep.
You moved the bed, didn't you?
How does everyone know this?
Been here,
Yes.
done this before?
Fine. Yes, I've moved the bed.
Did it seem like the other three were keeping information from us?
Yes.
Okay.
Which, considering, means they're probably just keeping information from you and are keeping it from me by proximity.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
So it's probably about Asmodeus.
It's always about Asmodeus.
Yeah, you've made a complicated partnership.
Well, it's either that or be sucked away in the middle of fights.
I mean, I'm not saying it was wrong necessarily, just that it's got consequences.
All right. you found anything else? Or anything else that we should look for?
No. I'm... it would help if I knew more about the players. I'm, like I said, I don't really know anything about these gods. If you could brief me on their personalities, inclinations, allies, agendas.
That is something I can do.
All right. That'd be great.
All right. At least on most of them.
I mean, it's a start, and we're going to have to adapt a lot once gods we don't even know about start showing up, but this is a good framework.
Okay, so the Pentatheon, we've only got the 3 left, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know
the Raven
nothing
Queens,
about the Huntress yet.
Yep. And Muhammad's dead. So it's Corlon, Malara,
And Arathis.
Rathis. So they're like the good guys?
More or less.
I mean, I figured since the other guys are called the Dark Council that, those were the bad guys.
Yeah, the other ones are definitely bad guys. I don't know about all of these ones being good guys. Melora is about nature. So she's not going to roll over to the Dark Council, but she's also not necessarily going to stop nature from running its course.
So if they promise her like lots of spooky forests, she could find friends there?
Possibly. What are the alignments of the Pentatheon?
There's no real alignments. We haven't been really doing alignments.
Fair.
Yeah, when I say good guys, I mean mostly good with a lowercase g.
Yeah. Corlon, I think, is the least likely one to actually agree to anything that the Dark Council might offer.
Why is that?
Mostly because I've dealt with enough elves, and they usually are too stubborn to actually agree with things.
Oh, is he the elf god then?
Yeah. Or might actually know a bit more about him than I do. Actually, Orin probably knows more about him than I do.
I'll follow up.
And then Arathis is about civilization. She's probably the one that's going to want the treaty to fall apart the least.
Yeah, that would make sense. This all seems real bad for civilization.
Also may be the most likely one to actually help the material plane if things go too far.
Like direct intervention?
Yeah, at least try and bring some amount of the population to Shalai.
What's Shalai?
Shalai is her city.
Oh, okay. So it's here?
Yeah, it's here in the Astral Sea, and it is huge.
Well, let's really hope that this crisis doesn't come to a interplanar refugee situation.
Yeah, that's the best option, but contingencies upon contingencies. So the Dark Council, 2 of them are actually really straightforward. Tiamat mostly wants her brood to continue to grow.
Her brood?
God of Dragons.
Yep. Okay. So into the making of more dragons?
More or less, yeah. She's not opposed to any of them dying if they screw up, though.
Got it. Who's the other straightforward one? Yeah.
God of Orcs, God of War, battle, conflict, sport. Convincing him was just a matter of beating his goons.
Great. Hopefully his goons will include Tekiatl, because that guy could use a dagger and a kidney.
Yeah. I mean, he did help stop the whole world-ending crisis.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I'd put daggers in both his kidneys.
Okay. So the other 3 are hard to read.
Well, I mean, it seems like you'd have a pretty good grasp on Asmodeus.
He wants power. I'm not sure if he just wants it for the sake of having power or not, but he definitely wants power. He's probably going to be the biggest obstacle to fixing this.
Because he's not big on sharing.
No, So when we were brought up here to fight the Void, I managed to convince the Pentatheon to accept the help of, or to not even accept, but request the help of the Dark Council.
Mm-hmm.
Asmodeus is the only one who refused.
How do you get away with that?
We couldn't offer him anything he thought was worthwhile.
I see. What'd you offer all the others?
Grumsh just challenged us to a contest.
Sure. You wanted a show?
Yeah. Tiamat got all the bodies that her children could eat as long as they fell off a boat.
All right. That's reasonable.
Loth got a major temple from the Raven Queen in Chilai. That was my bad.
Okay. That seems like a bad deal.
Oh, it was not great.
And that's what preceded this whole Raven Queen mess.
Yeah, that may have started it. Her losing to me in the Cobalt Alley right before the fight with the Void probably actually pushed her into the Huntress.
Great. Okay.
I am part god of death.
You are part god of death. Well, who knows? Maybe before the end of this, we'll put a starfish on you and you'll be more god of death.
They put the starfish on me?
Well, I don't know. Figure out how to put power from the starfish on you or whatever.
Yeah.
Vecna?
Secrets. He works in secrets. He works in a secret. He didn't provide us troops or anything, but he did give us the necessary information to launch the proper counterattack.
That can be just as valuable. What do you have to offer him?
I don't remember.
You had to destroy a book.
Oh, we destroyed a book.
What kind of book?
Did we ever know what the book was?
You don't know what the book was, but you know that it was guarded by many powerful guardians, so it was probably an important book.
We totally did this, didn't we? Holy crap.
Oh, yeah. I know we're 2 episodes in, and it's like a big tip of the hand to be like, this is what's happening, but you guys are literally dealing with your own war crimes right now.
Sweet. Glad I get to be the Johnny come lately.
Yep.
Think about how I feel. I wasn't there while I was there.
So at least I'm here for that.
If I go to hell, it won't be my fault.
Well, I mean
even your previous, even if you were still Torque, it wasn't really your fault. I made most of the stupid decisions for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Ken is just dragging us all down with him.
Way to go, Ken.
Torque was there. Torque has some responsibility there too. He was an active member of the party.
True.
Oh, sure. Just push me under a bus.
I'm just saying, you're all under the bus.
I'm under no buses.
Nope, you're under the bus too by association. That's what sucks about this.
You've been drug under.
Yep.
I want to get off the bus.
Hey, Randus
I
wasn't
wanna
there
go-
either.
On the
I want to
bus,
go
you're
back
under
to
it.
Shadowrun.
It's like, how did this Shadowrun game turn into Nobilis?
This isn't what I signed on for.
Think of it as revenge for pelting us with those dead alligator corpses 6 months ago.
It's okay. If it makes you feel any better, their Changeling the Dreaming game turned into Shadowrun on them, so this happens to everyone. I guess it was Changeling the Lost. Moving on. You guys were talking about gods.
It's fair.
He had to destroy a book guarded by some pretty potent things.
What? Like a book of secrets?
I imagine it's a book of his secrets.
Oh, you don't even know?
I was dealing with one problem at a time.
Oh, boy. Okay, cool.
It was either destroy the book or not have any help from Vecna.
Okay.
And considering fate of the universe, I think I made the right call.
And who's the last of the Dark Council?
Wolf? Nope, we already discussed Wolf.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, never mind. I forgot Lolth. So she got the Raven Queen Temple. And what's her deal?
What do you mean, what's with me?
What's her deal? Who's Lolth?
Oh, she is the god of the drow.
We don't have those.
Dark elves?
Like elves that
live underground.
Okay.
Kind of evil. Not always.
Man. Elves get two gods. Fancy. Okay. Well, that's an interesting briefing. So I guess from previous experience, you think Grumpsh, Erastil will be the easiest to deal with?
Grumpsh will probably be the easiest of the Dark Council to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Just because a decent enough show of force, he'll respect it.
Sure.
Tiamat's also not difficult to negotiate with. As long as you're not scared of a five-headed dragon the size of a 3-story building.
I mean, I am, but I guess I could hide it.
I'm pretty certain the rest of the Pentathlon will be on our side. Or at least on the side of fixing things.
Okay. From our study of the contract, does it have to be 10 parties? Does it have to be 5 and 5? Yeah, or that's basically it.
You're asking if it has to be 5 and 5?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
It can take as many signatures as you have. And one signature might count for one signature might count for half, one signature might count for 6. It just depends on...
It's a matter of how much divine power we can get crammed into the document.
Yep.
And so there is currently a divine power deficit, and we need to find something to fill that.
Yep.
Got it. Okay. All right. Interesting. So, yeah, again, it's really going to depend on what comes out of the woodwork and who they're going to be natural allies with and what they want. Because unless real weird stuff is going on, Again, I'm not really sure how divine power works. If Asmodeus takes over Bahamut's fortress, does Asmodeus get Bahamut's portfolios?
Probably not.
So, would it be one of these sleeping gods that gets Bahamut's portfolios? Like, it seems like they're, free floating right now. Like, who gets to be the god of fortresses?
That's a good question. It seemed like a number of the portfolios were kind of handled by multiple gods.
Mm-hmm.
Like Bahamut was a god of war, as is Grumsh. Bahamut was a god of dragons, as is Tiamat. I say both Arathis and Asmodeus kind of rule over law and order.
Mm-hmm.
They just represent different aspects of such.
So I guess what we need to figure out is what the incentive structures are going to be for these gods. Because if they think they can get all the power they need to reseal the deal by just killing each other and taking over each other's domains, then we need to be prepared for that.
Right. So I think the next question is, the next thing to do is look and see what the incentives were the first time.
It's a really good point. Hopefully we'll get that information at our base.
And there it is.
There it is. All right, ladies and gentlemen. 2 episodes in, and we made this one an extra long one just for you. Thank you for downloading, checking us out. Thank you for all of your support over at patreon.com/majorspoilers. Hey, if you're not a patron and you enjoyed this episode and you enjoy what we're doing, head over there to patreon.com/majorspoilers. See what we got going on and see if you can help us out. That's all we ask. Some value for value. That wraps it up for this installment of Critical Hit. Until next time, here's hoping all of your dice rolls are critical hits.
This podcast is copyright 2018 by Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC.